Babylon, or Baby Token, has been listed on Bitget. Babylon allows Bitcoin holders to stake their BTC and earn rewards without ever giving up your private keys. Babylon is enabling native Bitcoin staking to secure other proof-of-stake networks, and this brings the security of Bitcoin into the general DeFi ecosystems. This is the website for Babylon, and this is their knowledge-based documents on how to set everything up. I grabbed their website and I grabbed all their knowledge base, and I grabbed all of the keynote speakers and all of the different discussion panel videos on their YouTube channel, and I created a custom knowledge base to bring all of that together so that I could ask the AI to explain to me what makes this project unique, what benefits does it bring or problems does it solve, and how can the average people make money from involvement in this. After I went through, I created this Bitcoin staking guide. It's really very informative, and I thought this was a pretty good project. So I went off and I purchased my basic $5 investment in it. So we'll see if this turns out over time. And then finally, I put all of this information that I learned together into a podcast style presentation, and I've got it queued up along the top here. So now I'm just going to play this podcast presentation, and the AI is going to explain everything about this project and why it is amazing. All right, let's jump in and learn about Baby Token.
You know, it's kind of mind-blowing when you really stop and look at Bitcoin.
Totally.
I mean, here's this massive digital asset, right?
Absolutely enormous. Dwarfs pretty much everything else in crypto asset-wise.
Exactly. And yet, the amount of that Bitcoin actually doing anything in DeFi, in decentralized finance, it's tiny, like 0.1%, maybe 0.3%.
Practically nothing, especially when you compare it to, say, Ethereum.
Right. Ethereum's sitting at like 30% of its value active in DeFi.
Yeah.
That massive gap for Bitcoin, it feels like less of a problem and more of a huge opportunity waiting to happen, especially for you if you're holding Bitcoin.
It's like having a Formula One car just sitting in the garage, never getting raced. And that's precisely the issue that a project called Babylon is trying to solve.
Okay, Babylon.
Yeah. They're essentially building the tools to let Bitcoin holders like you stake your Bitcoin, put it to work, earn some yield potentially. That's the goal. And crucially, while you still hold on to your Bitcoin, maintain custody. It's about waking up all that dormant capital.
Okay, that's definitely something we need to dig into. So that's our mission for this deep dive, right?
Yep.
We want to unpack the key benefits Babylon is offering.
Yep. And walk you through how an average Bitcoin holder, someone listening right now, could actually get started.
What results you might realistically expect. Can't promise riches, but understand the potential.
Exactly. And break down the different ways you could actually, make your Bitcoin productive through this.
One core idea here, just to set the stage, is how Babylon uses Bitcoin's value, its huge asset value, for staking, to secure other networks, specifically proof of stake or POS network.
Which is different from Bitcoin itself. Bitcoin runs on proof of work. That's the mining process we all know.
But POS chains need assets staked to secure them. And like our sources point out, most POS assets are staked. Bitcoin mostly just sits there.
Yeah, largely idle in that sense. So Babylon's big idea, its core innovation, is enabling this Bitcoin staking.
Putting Bitcoin to work.
Exactly. Leveraging its massive market cap and, importantly, its incredibly decentralized holder base to provide security for these POS chains. It's turning Bitcoin from just a store of value into, a productive security asset, too.
Okay, so how does Babylon actually pull this off? Let's get into the nuts and bolts a bit.
Yeah.
One thing mentioned is its role as a coordination layer. What does that mean?
Think of it like a middleman or maybe a universal translator between Bitcoin and other blockchains. George from MLabs talked about this.
Right.
Babylon wants to create a space where Bitcoin can interact with things like smart contracts, be combined with other tokens, and plug into all sorts of DeFi protocols. Basically bring Bitcoin fully into the programmable money world.
So it helps Bitcoin talk to other systems. How does the security part work then? You mentioned moving towards Bitcoin security.
Right. So currently a project building using Babylon's tech, like BOG, which Alexei Zamyatin discussed, it might start out operating as an Ethereum layer 2.
Meaning it relies on Ethereum for security initially?
Yeah, for finality and some security aspects. But the end game, the goal enabled by Babylon, is to get its security directly from Bitcoin itself.
Oh. Through that staking we mentioned.
Exactly. The idea is, before transactions on a Babylon-connected network are finalized, say, on Ethereum, they get an extra check, a verification layer powered by people staking their Bitcoin through Babylon.
So you've got potentially billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin basically vouching for the transactions.
Yeah.
That sounds strong.
It aims to be incredibly robust.
Wow.
Think about attacking such a system. You wouldn't just need to compromise the network's own sequencer or maybe Ethereum.
You'd also have to take on the Bitcoin stakers.
You'd have to somehow overpower a majority of the Bitcoin stake through Babylon. That dual layer makes attacks extremely difficult and costly. The goal is maximum security for Bitcoin in DeFi.
And that enhanced security leads to another key piece, a better Bitcoin bridge, right? Because current ones, like WBTC.
Yeah, wrapped to Bitcoin. It works, but it often relies on centralized custodians holding the actual Bitcoin. That requires trust.
Which many Bitcoiners aren't thrilled about. Hence, maybe the limited uptake.
Possibly, yeah. Babylon's approach, using decentralized Bitcoin stakers for verification, aims for a trust-minimized bridge, a way to move Bitcoin into DeFi that relies much less on trusting a single company.
Okay, that makes sense. More secure, less trust needed. Now, you mentioned a liquid staking flywheel. That sounds interesting. How does that work for me, the Bitcoin holder?
Okay, let's break it down. Step 1, you stake your Bitcoin through Babylon. Your Bitcoin is now actively helping secure connected networks.
Got it. My Bitcoin has a job.
Step 2, your staked Bitcoin gets represented by something called a liquid staking token, an LST. Examples we saw were LBTC from Lombard, Solve BTC from Solve, ABTC from Acorn.
So it's like a receipt, but one I can use.
Exactly. It's liquid. That's step 3. You can take that LST, say LBTC, and use it in DeFi applications built on or connected to Babylon, like the Bob platform.
Ah, okay. So I can lend it out or trade it or something.
Precisely. You can supply it to lending pools, use it as collateral, whatever the DeFi platform allows. This brings more liquidity, more activity.
And more activity means fees.
Exactly. More trading volume, more borrowing, generates more fees on the platform.
Okay, I see where this is going. The flywheel part.
Step 4. A portion of those generated fees gets routed back to the people who staked the original Bitcoin. That's your yield.
So the more activity my LST enables, the more potential yield comes back to me as a staker.
Right. And then step 5. Attractive yield encourages more people to stake their Bitcoin, which creates more LSTs, leading to more DeFi activity, generating more fees.
Which leads to more yield. Wow, okay. A positive feedback loop. The flywheel.
That's the concept, a self-reinforcing cycle driving adoption and yield.
That's pretty clever. But, one of the big turnoffs for using Bitcoin in DeFi now is just how clunky it can be. Multiple steps, bridging fees, KYC sometimes. It's a headache.
Totally agree. The user experience is often not great.
Does Babylon address that?
That's where solutions like Bob Stake, which Alexei Zamyatin presented, come into play.
Bob Stake.
Yeah. Imagine a super simple, maybe even one-click way for you to take your Bitcoin and deploy it into various DeFi strategies on Babylon.
One click. Instead of 10 clicks and 3 different websites.
That's the vision. Stake your Bitcoin, maybe get the LST back, maybe deposit the LST into a lending pool, all streamlined into a much simpler process, cut out the complexity and high fees of current bridging.
Okay, that sounds like a potential game changer for actual adoption. If it's easy, people might actually do it.
And the early signs are promising.
Oh yeah, we have numbers.
Alexei shared some from Bob's early days. They saw over $300 million worth of Bitcoin deposited onto the platform.
Wow.
And about $240 million of that was already being used in different DeFi applications there. Plus, over 375 unique DeFi users across more than 100 projects since their mainnet went live.
That's pretty significant traction already. Shows the demand is there if you make it easier.
Definitely suggests a strong appetite for yield on Bitcoin if the UX is right.
Okay, so Bob Stake for ease of use. What about this hybrid BTC concept? Sounds a bit more advanced.
It is, potentially, but it unlocks more possibilities. Hybrid BTC is about letting your Bitcoin earn yield outside the immediate Babylon ecosystem, but still managed from it.
How does that work? Like sending my Bitcoin to Ethereum or Solana?
Kind of. You could deploy Bitcoin from within Babylon's environment to earn yield on, say, Ethereum, Solana, Base, wherever opportunities exist.
Okay.
Then you can tokenize that position, your Bitcoin, plus its accrued yield back into the Babylon ecosystem.
So my Bitcoin goes on an away mission to earn yield, then comes back home to Babylon, possibly with profits.
That's a good way to think about it. And the key idea long-term is that these connections, these away missions, would still be secured by Bitcoin staking via Babylon.
So you maintain that base layer of Bitcoin security even when accessing yield elsewhere.
Exactly. Aiming for the most secure way to tap into diverse Bitcoin earning opportunities across the whole crypto space, while your core asset stays under Babylon's security umbrella.
Okay, this is fascinating. We've covered the why and the how. Let's get really practical now. For me, listening at home with some Bitcoin, how do I actually start? What are the first steps?
Well, the goal, especially with things like Bobstake, is to make it super simple, potentially just a few clicks to get your Bitcoin staked initially.
So the entry point should be easy. What are the basic options once I'm in? What can I do to earn?
The absolute simplest path is just staking your Bitcoin through Babylon. That's it.
Just stake and hold.
Yeah. You help secure the network and you earn yield directly on your native Bitcoin. And crucially, like we said, you keep control of your keys. That's massive for Bitcoiners.
Definitely. Okay, so that's option one. Simple staking. What else?
Option 2 involves those liquid staking tokens, the LSTs like LBTC or Solve BTC you get after staking.
Right.
You can take those LSTs and put them to work in DeFi on Babylon. A common starting point would be supplying them to a lending protocol. You deposit your LBTC and you earn interest on it from borrowers.
Okay, lending out my LSTs. Is that it?
Well, you could potentially get more advanced. Use your LSTs as collateral to borrow other assets, maybe stable coins, or even get into leveraged positions, but, that comes with significantly higher risk.
Sure. Standard DeFi risk supply. So stake, get LSTs, then lend or use those LSTs more actively. Now, the big question, returns. What kind of yield are we talking about? Are we seeing those crazy DeFi percentages?
I think it's really crucial to manage expectations here.
Yeah.
You see wild APYs advertised sometimes, right? That's often not sustainable.
Yeah, usually tied to temporary incentives or high risk.
Exactly. Babylon's approach seems focused on more sustainable, secure yield. It's generated from real activity, the fees from networks being secured, the fees from DeFi protocols running on Babylon.
So the yield depends on actual usage.
Yes. It'll fluctuate based on how much Bitcoin is staked overall, how much trading and lending is happening in the ecosystem, network fees collected, things like that. Think steady, long-term growth, not overnight riches.
Okay, realistic expectations. Sustainable yield from real activity. Makes sense. Are there other places these LSTs might be useful for earning yield?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The potential for integration is huge. Corm from Core Network mentioned this.
Like using them on other well-known DeFi platforms?
Potentially, yes. Imagine supplying your LBTC to liquidity pools on established DEXs like Uniswap or Curve. You'd earn trading fees.
Okay.
Or lending them out on protocols like Morpho or Euler, earning interest there. The more places these LSTs can be used, the more utility they have, and the more opportunities for yield open up for you.
So my staked Bitcoin, via its LST form, could be plugged into lots of different DeFi moneymakers. That's powerful. We have to talk risk. DeFi isn't risk-free. What should people watch out for?
Absolutely. Well, Babylon aims for high security, especially with slashing penalties for bad actors like double-simers.
Slashing means validators lose some of their staked coins if they cheat, right?
Correct. It discourages malicious behavior. But that doesn't eliminate all risk. You still have smart contract risk bugs in the code of the DeFi apps you interact with.
Always a possibility in DeFi.
And then there's market risk, platform risk, the usual volatility. So even though the base layer staking aims to be secure, you absolutely must do your own research on the specific LSTs and DeFi protocols you choose to use. Understand what you're interacting with.
DYOR. Do your own research.
True.
Always essential. Okay. Let's crystallize this. Can we just list out clearly the main ways someone listening could potentially make money with Babylon? Like a quick summary.
Sure. Method 1, direct Bitcoin staking.
Okay.
You stake your native Bitcoin via Babylon, help secure POS chains, and you earn staking rewards, a yield, key benefit. You keep custody of your Bitcoin.
Got it. Simple, direct, maintain control. Method 2.
Method 2, participate in the liquid staking flywheel.
Right. The LSTs.
You stake, get your LSTs like LBTC. Then you use those LSTs in DeFi on Babylon, lend them out, provide liquidity, maybe borrow against them. The activity generates fees, which boosts the staking reward. So potentially earning yield from staking and from DeFi activities with the LST.
Okay, double dipping on yield potential in a way. What's method 3?
Method 3, utilizing hybrid BTC.
The away mission Bitcoin.
Exactly. Deploying your Bitcoin, secured by Babylon, into yield opportunities on other chains like Ethereum or Solana, then bringing that yield-bearing position back into the Babylon ecosystem to use there, maybe as collateral. It opens up a broader universe of yield sources.
Accessing wider DeFi while keeping that Babylon security layer.
Right.
Okay. Anything else? Future potential.
Method 4, maybe. Future ecosystem growth. As Babylon matures, new things will pop up.
Like what?
Providing liquidity specifically for LST trading pairs on DXs built on Babylon. Participating in brand new DeFi protocols launched within the ecosystem, maybe new stablecoins, specialized lending platforms like BEMA or Avalon, DX pools like Volantis's NBTC pool, opportunities we can't even fully predict yet.
So getting involved early could position you for future opportunities as the ecosystem develops.
Potentially, yes. It's an evolving space.
Okay, that's a great breakdown. Multiple angles for Bitcoin holders. Now, actually, before we dive into what's next for Babylon, we've got a quick but important update for you listening.
That's right. A quick announcement. The Baby token. This is a token associated with the ecosystem we've been discussing.
It's now trading live on the Bitget exchange.
Yep. Baby is on Bitget.
So you can head over there and start trading BB today if that's something you're interested in. And because you listened to the deep dive, we've got a special deal.
Oh, yeah.
Use our exclusive Bitget link. It's right there in the show notes below. And you'll get a lifetime 20% discount on all your trading fees on Bitget.
Lifetime 20% off. That's pretty good.
Definitely worth checking out if you plan on trading there. Link in the show notes. Okay, back to Babylon's future. What's on their roadmap? Where are they heading?
The main push seems to be towards becoming a fully Bitcoin-secured network, moving beyond any reliance on other chains like Ethereum for security, and really anchoring everything directly to Bitcoin security via staking.
Making Bitcoin the ultimate foundation.
That's the vision, leveraging its unmatched security and decentralization for the whole ecosystem.
And you mentioned earlier something about Babylon helping other chains with security, making it cheaper.
Yeah, this is a fascinating idea discussed by David C. in their late paper. The concept is that other, perhaps newer or smaller POS chains could essentially rent security from Bitcoin through Babylon.
Rent security? How?
Instead of solely relying on inflating their own native token to incentivize staking, which can be expensive and dilute token value, they could tap into the massive economic security pool of staked Bitcoin via Babylon.
So a new chain wouldn't need, say, billions in its own stake token value to be secure. It could borrow Bitcoin's security strength.
That's the potential. It could allow these chains to launch and operate with much lower native token inflation, making their own economics more sustainable long-term. It's a really innovative model.
That could really change the game for launching new blockchains. What about the bigger picture? The long-term vision for Bitcoin and DeFi?
Well, some people, like Thomas from Functionland, envision Bitcoin eventually becoming a kind of prime reserve asset for the entire DeFi world.
Like the dollar in TradFi, the base layer asset everything else relates to.
Sort of, yeah. The ultimate, most trusted collateral or base money layer for decentralized finance. Babylon sees itself as building the essential infrastructure, the pipes and rails, to make that vision possible.
So really pushing Bitcoin beyond just digital gold into being a foundational, active component of the future financial system.
That's the ambitious goal. And they're not trying to do it alone.
Collaborations.
Yeah, they're actively integrating and partnering with other projects. We saw mentions of Portal, Cardano, Arbitrum, potentially integrating aspects, and clear connections being built within the Cosmos ecosystem, too. These bridges are vital.
Building those connections across the crypto space. And you mentioned some specific types of products being built within the Babylon ecosystem earlier.
Right. We're seeing the essential DeFi building blocks emerge. Things like stablecoins native to the ecosystem, which are crucial for trading and lending.
Sure, needs stablecoins.
Dedicated lending protocols like BEMA and Avalon, letting you earn interest or borrow against your Bitcoin-backed assets. And decentralized exchanges, DXs like Osmosis or Volantis's NBTC pool, designed for trading Bitcoin LSTs and related assets smoothly.
So all the core pieces you'd expect in a thriving DeFi ecosystem, but centered around Bitcoin.
Exactly, laying that groundwork.
It really does sound like they're building something substantial. Okay, as we start to wrap this up, just one final important reminder for everyone listening.
Right, that announcement again. Just reminding you that the Baby token is actively trading over on Bitget. Okay, so bringing this all home, What we've explored today is how Babylon is really carving out a new path for Bitcoin holders like you.
Yeah, a way to get involved in DeFi.
Exactly. A way to potentially earn yield through staking, to interact with a growing ecosystem of apps. And this is key to do it while keeping custody of your Bitcoin and leveraging its incredible security.
And crucially, it seems like they're focused on making it easier to actually do it. Platforms like Bob's Stake aiming for that one-click simplicity are huge.
Definitely. Lowering the barrier to entry is critical. And the potential with liquid staking tokens, LSTs, and that hybrid BTC concept,
Yeah.
it really opens up ways to make idle Bitcoin productive.
Okay, so final thought then, something for our listeners to chew on after this.
Well, just consider this. What happens if this works? If Babylon, or solutions like it, succeed in unlocking potentially trillions of dollars worth of Bitcoin that's currently just sitting there.
And bringing it actively into DeFi.
Yeah. How could that fundamentally reshape finance? What kind of new innovations, new applications, new opportunities might spin out of that once Bitcoin becomes a truly core active asset in the decentralized world?
That's a big question. Makes you think about the next evolution of crypto.
It really does. So we definitely encourage you to check out the resources, dig a little deeper into Babylon, and explore this whole emerging world of Bitcoin DeFi.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.